Today we're going to make a goat milking stand. Material wise, 8-foot 4x4, a couple 8-foot 2x4s, and then depending on the length of your deck boards, these are 5/4, 6-inch deck boards. I think it takes 5 8-footers to make this, and like 3 10-footers, and of course the longer you get, the less you'll need. Screws, lag bolt, and that'll be about it. All this is treated lumber, and I use exterior fasteners, and that'll just be a preference call on you. Alright, the first step is just to make the framework for the deck of the stand out of the 2x4s. I make mine 4 feet long by 2 feet wide, so the sides are a true 4 feet, and then since you've got the overlap, you subtract double the width of one board, so the end boards are 21 inches, and they're just secured with 2 3.5-inch exterior screws at each of the corners. Alright, next step is just cutting your 5/4 deck boards to 2-foot lengths and securing them to the framework. I've been pre-drilling these because usually I've not ever pre-drilled them. These just happen to lay out a little bit longer and kind of dried out, so they're a little brittle. Not a big deal, just don't want them to split. And also I'll run like one large 3-inch screw through the center, and then I'll do just 2 small 1.5-inch screws on either side, and that seems to work pretty well. Alright, once all the deck boards are in place, we just flip it over. That way we can attach the legs to it. We're getting the legs fastened on. These are 18-inch long legs. You can make them up to 24 inches, of course, with the one 8-foot 4x4, but personally I prefer around 16, just for the sake of stability. 18 is about the max I personally like, but I usually make them for whatever somebody wants up to 24 inches. And all you do, you got your pieces, cut the length, and you'll hold those in place in the corners, and I shoot two screws through this part of the frame, and then two screws through that part of the frame, and they're the long 3-inch ones, and it seems to do a fine job. Alright, we've got the frame assembled, the deck boards on, the legs on, and the only thing we'll have left to do now is just make the yoke. Alright, first step of laying out the yoke is just finding the center of your deck. That way everything is symmetrical whenever we get started. I'm calling the yoke of the milking stand. I'm using the 5/4 deck boards again. These pieces are 3 foot 4 inches long. That way whenever they're mounted to the front of the stand, it'll be about 3 foot sticking up above the deck. For the void in between the two where the head goes through, and it'll be around their neck, I just use a large cup or something to that effect to make the rounded opening in the center, and then I'll go ahead and round off the corners, and I'll lay that out real quick and show you what I'm talking about. I know it's kind of hard to see, but those lines will show you the basic layout of how I'll mark it up to cut it out, and I'll grab a jigsaw and get that knocked out real quick. We've got the neck hole cut out. Next, one of the boards will be secured and be immovable. The other is the one that you will want to be able to swing open to allow the goat to put its head through. For that one, you need to find the center widthwise, and then mark that the same lengthwise. Can't remember exactly. I think this was like 2 3/4 or something like that. But you'll mark that, and then you'll put a string or a compass on that, and then do a sweeping mark of that dimension. And then, you know, I chose to do it on this one because it had a defect right there, so it worked out great. That'll cut that defect out. But what that does is that'll be your swivel point. We'll drill that out and run a lag bolt through it, and then when it swivels, that right there will swing up and around on this board, and it won't catch. All right, we've got the 2 yokes, or boards that make up the yoke, put in place. 8 screws in that one. You know, it's pretty sturdy, and then 1 lag bolt through the center of this board. We've got the sweep cut out. I did put a backer on the back, mainly because the screws penetrated the 2x4 a little bit, and definitely the lag bolt was long enough to go through. So I put a backer plate on the back of that just so that it would have a little bit more to grab onto. You know, just a washer as well on the lag bolt. But you can see it's on level ground, sorry, but you know, it swivels, does a good job as far as opening and closing, and you know, that was pretty extreme as far as opening. Usually you wouldn't have to even open that far. Alright, for the feed bucket rail, I just take a scrap piece of the 2x4, scrap piece of the 5/4, sandwich them together on the front rail. It adds a little bit of stability as far as the one that opens. You know, it gives it something pressed to halfway up rather than just at the bottom. But it still, you know, opens, closes fine. Nothing's attached to this right hand side other than the lag bolt. Alright, I ran around the interior of the opening with a sander. You know, you don't want to get your goat thinking about getting a splinter in its neck every time you try to put it on there. So get that nice and cleaned up, and then for the top, for the closure, just 2 big fence staples and a heavy duty cage spring. Alright, stand's pretty much done. We'll need to get a little plastic feed trough to hook on there, a little bit of grain whenever they're being milked. This is what we do. I know a lot of stands will have bracing, you know, through here. I think it's a little overkill. You know, that's pretty stout. And if an animal is rambunctious enough and doesn't want to be milked enough that it's going to tear that apart, yeah, I personally probably wouldn't keep that animal for milking purposes. You know, if need be, if you need to put stirrups on them, you know, you could add eye bolts here, and be able to tie their legs in if they're bad at kicking, or you know, if you're just getting them broke to milking. But yeah, this is how we do it. It's decent design. It's not super expensive. All these materials, if I remember right, it's around $60, give or take. And it's all treated, you know, so you can leave it outside. You don't have to keep it in the barn or in the garage or under a shed. That's the best part about it. You know, you could stick it anywhere, and it's treated. It's not going to rot on you, and you know, this will probably last a good decade or so before anything bad happens to it. But this is how I've done the last few that I've made. Hope this helps somebody.